All right, welcome occasional teachers. This video should show you just a short overview on Brightspace if you are in a classroom where your supply instructions tell you you've got to use Brightspace. So the first thing you'll do is start on the publicboard.ca website. And in order to log into Brightspace, you would scroll all the way down to the quick link section and select D2L Brightspace. When you click into here, it should ask you to log in using your board provided Office 365 credentials, which is your employee ID at publicboard.ca and your standard password. Click sign in and you'll be brought into the Brightspace board's homepage. Now, if your instructions were to search for a certain course, you may see that course down here under My Courses, as the administrators from the school that you're going to will be adding you into the courses there. However, if you don't see them here, what you can do is go up to the top where these 3x3 squares are, click on that, and you can search for the courses that you're trying to get into. So for example, if you're trying to get into Mr. Gomes's PPL course, and you can type in exactly what the course was said, but if you type in Gomes PPL 2021 SEM 1, then you can find the courses that you would actually need to go into. All right, so that could be this course here. For our intents and purposes, we are going to look at Sandbox 140, just because it's a course that doesn't have real students in it. So when I search for that course, you can see that course comes up right here, and I can just select that course in order to go into it. Now you look at a familiar style of page here where you have 3 different sections. You've got the mini bar up here, which most often you don't have to worry about. You have the nav bar here, which is for quick navigational links. And then this is kind of the content section, or the widget section, as you might call it. And what you'd end up seeing here is announcements that the teacher has already made for the class. You'll be able to see what they've said to their students, and you'll be able to access the different links for what they've put in there. Now, if the classroom teacher has put in information here, they may have added things like, here's an assignment that you can access and download just so that you can kind of preview it or know what the students are looking for. They may also put in a reminder about a virtual classroom meeting at a certain time, or they might be using Microsoft Teams instead. So all of those things should be found inside the announcements, but there should also be detailed descriptions of exactly what you would be expected to do in their virtual classroom in the test online system where you're going to be getting your job instructions. Okay. Now, another place where I'm suggesting that classroom teachers would be putting their instructions would be in this content section right here. So if you click content, then you'll end up seeing different ways that teachers are structuring their lessons in different units. But there could be a folder called supply instructions down here at the bottom. And notice this is a hidden folder. We would want to make sure that this continues to be hidden from students so that only the supply teacher who comes in is going to be able to see that. So inside this hidden folder, we can have a hidden file, and this would be the instructions of what you would be expected to do today. So you should do this, you should do that. Here's the files they use to access them. They use Virtual Classroom or Teams, and here's the meeting link. And they could post in links to those different areas very easily for you. Okay, so if there was any important information that you'd need to get into, you could see that in this content section. Now, this would also be where teachers would be posting lesson plans if they needed to for students. Oftentimes they may have students participating in a discussion or submitting assignments, but as an occasional teacher, I don't know that it's something that you absolutely need to be focused on at this time. You may, however, need to launch a virtual classroom or a Teams meeting, and in that case, you'd have to, again, pay attention to what the supply instructions were. There's a couple ways of doing it depending on how the teacher has set it up. If we go back to the course homepage, which will bring us back to the place where it shows the announcements, you'll end up seeing that this teacher has linked a virtual classroom meeting and a Microsoft Teams meeting. And I've just done this to help demonstrate this. So if the link is here, you should be able to just click on the link to virtual classroom. And what will end up happening is we'll open up the lobby where you can then enter the meeting room at that specific time. So this will launch the virtual classroom, which is built directly into Brightspace, but it uses a company called Bongo as a third party to host that. And you'll first have to select that you want to enable your microphone. So you can select microphone, and then it will do a microphone test. You have to select allow to use your microphone, and it'll do an echo test. This is just going to make sure that you can hear and you can your microphone and your speakers are both working. So once this goes up, I'll say yes. And now we're in the virtual classroom. So we'll be able to see participants come in, and you can see them in there. There's a chat feature inside of here. You can select polls if you'd like with your students, and you can upload presentations if you have to go through a presentation. So for example, in this presentation, you can select presentations here, and then you can upload a file that you might have gotten from that teacher. So you can either drag or drop the file or click to browse. And if you upload that file in and then select upload, that file will load in properly directly on screen. And again, students will be able to see this file. You can make it larger by selecting one of these buttons like fit to width. And then you could pan and scroll through and so on. Okay, so this is essentially the virtual classroom. You are able to use some of the tools down here if you want to share your webcam or if you want to share your screen rather than sharing a document. You can also mute yourself or you can mute students. So when you go to participants over here, notice there are some permissions that you could click on, and you can select what these students are allowed to do. So if you want to lock them sharing their webcams or lock them seeing other viewers' webcams, these are definitely features that you can enable or disable as you see fit. You can also record the meeting inside here by selecting the record button and then start recording. That's now going to record everything going on the screen, and then it will record the chat and the webcams as well. Okay, so I know this is a very basic overview of the virtual classroom, but that could be something that you're expected to do and you're expected to teach inside of here through a certain a presentation or a PowerPoint or something, or you may need to provide a discussion inside here as well. When you're done the meeting, you can select the three dots in the top corner and then select End Meeting. And then End Meeting, and then all the students will be kicked out of there and back into the classroom. Okay, so now the other option is to use a Teams meeting. So some teachers may have, instead of using virtual classroom, they might be using Microsoft Teams. If that's the case, they would have a link to their team meeting as well. And you could click on that link, and I'm going to open up the Teams app for this one. And you can see that there's a meeting that I can join. I'll select join that meeting. And then very similar, you're going to have some of these options for turning your camera on, sharing your screen, showing the participants, showing the chat, and so on. Okay, so when I'm done with that same type of thing, I think Craig is going to be showing a lot of people how to go through that. You can select the drop down and go end meeting, and then you'll end the meeting for everyone. So that's essentially a very brief overview of what you'd be looking to do as an occasional teacher inside a Brightspace course. You can come in, view what the announcements are. You can check on the class list as well. So if there were students in this course, you'd be able to see the students on the side, and you could see either when they've last accessed the course, or you could send them an email through there if it's necessary. But for the most part, you'd be looking at launching a virtual session from either Virtual Classroom, or you'd be launching it directly from Teams. So most times you'd see those links directly here, but sometimes if you're using Virtual Classroom, the teacher may just come and use the Virtual Classroom link. So I guess that's one other additional piece. If you click on the Virtual Classroom link in the nav bar, then you'll see all of the different scheduled meetings that you can see based on the time and the date. And if you want to go into them, you just click on the three dots and select Launch. Okay, this one was the one that was a little bit that I left or wasn't able to get to. But if I want to launch a new meeting, I can just select Launch and enter that meeting room and do those same type of audio test and so on. Okay, so that's essentially a brief overview of using Brightspace as an occasional teacher. If you do have any other questions, there's going to be some more supporting documentation that comes out further.